Okay, so you hear this term ESG thrown around all the time, right? And immediately, you probably think of these super complicated reports, maybe some big, serious boardroom meeting. But what if I told you the real story of ESG isn't written in some stuffy report? What if it's actually happening in the break room every single day? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
So let's just tackle this head on. Is ESG really just for spreadsheets and boardrooms? I mean, when you hear that acronym, does your mind immediately picture these huge, dusty binders and, I don't know, a bunch of executives around a giant table? Yeah, you're not alone if you do. But the thing is, the real power of all this stuff, well, it might just be hiding in plain sight, in a place that's way more familiar to all of us.
All right, before we go any further, let's get on the same page. What even is ESG? It stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. Okay, great, but let's totally strip away the corporate jargon. All it really means is it's the set of principles that guide how a business operates. And here's the most important part. It's how they operate every single day. Seriously, hang on to that phrase because it's the key to understanding everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so that brings us to our first section, beyond the boardroom. And to really get this, we've got to shift how we think about it. We're going to move away from that image of the corporate headquarters and actually go see where these ideas come to life on the ground.
And this right here, this captures that shift perfectly. You see, the old view was that ESG was just, a box to tick for the annual report, something you do once a year. But the reality? Oh, it's so much more alive than that. It's not some static document. It is literally the sum of a million tiny decisions made by everyone every single day. It's the company's culture in action.
Which leads us right into our next section, principles and daily practice. So, if we're saying ESG is all about these daily actions, what does that actually look like? How do you take these big, lofty ideas from a mission statement and turn them into something you can actually see and do? Let's get down to the specifics.
First up, let's talk about the E, the environmental part. Honestly, these are usually the most visible, the most tangible things you'll notice in any workplace because they directly impact our physical surroundings.
And you know what? A lot of this stuff is incredibly simple. Just think about it for a second. Reducing energy consumption sounds huge, but it could be as basic as everyone agreeing to turn off their lights and computers when they leave. And managing waste responsibly? That's just the recycling bin in the kitchen, right? Or the company deciding to use less paper. See? These aren't some massive, complicated orders from on high. They're just collective daily habits.
All right, next up is the S for social. So if E is all about the planet, S is all about the people. This is everything from the culture inside the office to how the company interacts with the world outside its doors.
And just like the E, these social principles come alive in the day-to-day. Like promoting diversity? That's not just a number on a hiring report. It's about making sure everyone feels included in every single team meeting. And fair treatment? That's not some policy buried in a handbook nobody reads. It's having a manager who actually listens to you. And that brings us to the G, governance. Think of this as the glue that holds it all together. It's about being open, being ethical. It's as simple as leaders who communicate clearly, and a workplace where doing the right thing is just the normal way of doing things.
Okay, let's move on to section 3. Small actions, big impact. Because let's be real for a second. Turning off a light, sorting your recycling, being respectful, these things all seem kind of small, right? So why do they even matter? How on earth do these little individual actions add up to something that makes a real difference?
Well, this quote really hits the nail on the head. Even small initiatives, when consistently applied, can have a significant impact. The secret sauce, the magic ingredient here, is consistency. Think about it. One person turning off one light, one time, means almost nothing. But what about an entire company doing it every single day? Suddenly, you have this massive compounding effect. That repetition is what transforms these tiny actions into something truly powerful. And that powerful compounding impact, it leads to 2 huge key outcomes for any company.
And you can see them right here. First, you get real organizational sustainability. In plain English, the company just becomes healthier, stronger, and more able to handle whatever the future throws at it. Second, you build stakeholder confidence. And hey, stakeholders isn't some fancy word, it's everybody. It's the employees, the customers, the investors. When all of those people see a company actually walking the walk, day in and day out, their trust and confidence just skyrockets.
So that brings us to our final section, the ripple effect. Let's really connect all the dots here, because you can actually trace a direct line from one person turning off a light switch all the way to these massive company-wide results. It's this incredible ripple effect. it really is a simple, logical chain reaction. Look at step 1. It all starts with those small, consistent initiatives. The recycling, the inclusive meetings, all that stuff. Then, those daily habits naturally lead to step 2. The company as a whole becomes more sustainable, more resilient, and when that happens, when people see that genuine commitment, it's inevitable, you get step 3, a massive increase in confidence from everyone involved.
So you see, ESG isn't just some boring report that gathers dust on a shelf. It's a living, breathing thing. It's the culture of an organization, built from the ground up, one tiny action at a time. And that leaves me with one final question, just for you. Now that you know what to look for, where do you see ESG in your everyday life?